This is a great victory for all of us.
I will be stepping down as the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba.
I'm going to be stepping down.
This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janet Stewart. What a night it was. After years of saying the NDP could do a better job leading Manitoba, Wab Kinew now has to prove it. His party was elected yesterday with a majority mandate. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports on the early priorities of a Kinew government.
After the high of election night,
My dear, sweet Manitoba, look at what we have done here tonight.
Wab Kinew is coming back down to reality.
This is the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life, and the real work hasn't even begun yet.
Speaking to reporters the morning after Tuesday's election, the Premier-designate was asked about his top priorities. He says staffing up the healthcare system is high on the list.
And that's why I spoke to you, those on the front lines of our healthcare system last night, and I repeat my message to you today. We need you. We need you working at the front lines so that we can build new emergency rooms to serve the people of this province.
He wants to move on a landfill search as soon as possible.
This will be one of those items that we want to tackle in the very early days of our administration.
And temporarily eliminate the gas tax.
That is something I would like to do very quickly.
Kinew also wants the MPI strike to end, but won't interfere in bargaining. Becoming the first First Nations Premier of Manitoba is an accomplishment not lost on Kinew or the people around him. Kinew's uncle Fred, a residential school survivor, was on stage on election night.
Whatever feeling I have pales in comparison to how humble I feel to be walking in the trail that was blazed by others in our province.
Others saw hope in Kinew's victory.
It is a good thing to have another progressive premier across the country that we're going to be able to work with on issues of affordability, issues of housing, issues of reconciliation, obviously.
Including the people calling for a landfill search. They went to Portage and Main last night to celebrate. Kinew stressed it'll take a few weeks for the transition and swearing in of an NDP government. He says his cabinet will be smaller than Heather Stephenson's 18-member inner circle. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Hours after Manitoba NDP leader Wab Kinew was elected Premier-designate, the federal government announced money to look further into what is needed to search the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 2 First Nations women. The news comes as many mark the National Day of Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit and gender-diverse people. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
From the Canadian Museum for Human Rights to the grounds of the Manitoba Legislature, calls to search the landfills for the remains of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It's this landfill north of Winnipeg where the remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron are believed to be.
We're all here for a purpose today in remembrance of our lost loved ones.
Today, families and Indigenous leaders like AMC Grand Chief Kathy Merrick, who have been calling for a search of the Prairie Green landfill, are a step closer.
We never gave up hope.
The federal government announced it will spend $740,000 to get a deeper understanding of the scope of a search, such as training, construction, and safety concerns.
This is the next natural step in this process, and it's important that we get that information required in order for us to assess where we go from here. And this is where I'm looking forward to the province of Manitoba being at the table.
A Manitoba with a new premier-designate. NDP leader Wab Kinew supports a search. He isn't looking for another study and wants to consult more experts.
It will be important for us to deliver on this, and again, it's important for us to try. And so I think the first task before us is to go through the transition and to be sworn in as a new government. And then this will be one of those items that we want to tackle in the very early days of our administration.
Grand Chief Kathy Merrick embraced family members who've been pleading for a surge to happen last night.
There was a barrier in this province when it came to the federal government and the provincial government. So now that we have a new premier, I take it to heart that he's going to be able to work with the federal government.
A surge is what Myrna Abraham wants to see happen. She was among those outside the legislative building today. Her own sister Sharon, a mother of 5, went missing in 2004. Her DNA found on serial killer Robert Picton's farm. She's hopeful about Kinew as premier.
I prayed all day. I cried because we need change. We need to be treated like human beings because that's what we were born as.
The search is part of the change this day of action is all about. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's incoming premier, the premier-designate, spoke directly to young people after the win last night. Kinew offered words of encouragement to people of all ages, but specifically, he spoke to Indigenous youth. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, his message is resonating with students.
I know that there's some questions I'd love to hear from you of your response to some of the things that he was saying about his dream.
At St. John's High School, students spent part of the afternoon talking about the provincial election with Principal Doug Taylor. The results left grade 12 student Joshua Dare feeling inspired.
We're the next generation, and that it will be our responsibility next to help watch the communities and see what happens next.
Kinew will be the province's first First Nations premier. In Kinew's victory speech, he talked directly to Indigenous youth.
And so to young people out there who want to change your life for the better, you can do it. But here's the thing. You have to want it. You have to want it.
Kinew says he was given a second chance in his life and others can do the same.
My life became immeasurably better when I stopped making excuses and I started looking for a reason.
That part of his message is resonating with students upgrading their education at the Nygard Centre's Aboriginal Community Campus. 31-year-old Donna Daniels and 28-year-old Donovan Peranto say Kinew's speech helped reinforce the path they're on is the right one.
It's a struggle. Like at first I was working as a single dad. I didn't know if I wanted to finish school or anything, but I decided to come back to school, sober up, and here I am.
It gave me motivation, and I hope it resonates with a lot of other Indigenous people that come here and want to get that second chance.
15-year-old Kyrie Barkman says Kinew's speech empowered her to make a difference in First Nations communities, specifically making sure they all have clean drinking water.
It pretty much inspired me on to talk about the problems that we have to go through being Indigenous youth.
Dare says communities will rely on Kinew to help make a difference.
His duty to make sure that he's a good example for the next generation of Indigenous youth and First Nations.
Kinew vowed to be a government that helps people who take the first step to help themselves. Dare's paying attention to that promise. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Election night was also momentous for the two other big political parties with seats in the Manitoba legislature. Both saw their leaders resign last night. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
Wow, what an evening.
When Heather Stephenson walked on stage at PC headquarters last night, there was none of the combative rhetoric that dominated her campaign.
The historic nature of Mr. Kinew's victory must be acknowledged here this evening.
In an instant, Manitobans got a look at a gracious Heather Stephenson, the one who promised, when she became premier, to be inclusive.
Wob, I hope that your win tonight inspires a future generation of Indigenous youth to get involved in our democratic process, not just here in Manitoba, but right across the country. Wob, congratulations for that.
But this conciliatory Heather Stephenson, who saw her party lose 14 constituencies and barely hung on to her own tuxedo seat, isn't going to stick around at the helm of the PCs.
It is with a heavy heart tonight that I am announcing that I will be stepping down as the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba.
Stephenson plans to remain in her seat for now.
I look forward to working with the party to ensure a smooth process is in place to replace me as your leader.
When Dougald Lamont took the stage last night, he had already lost his St. Boniface seat and changed his job title.
I'm Dougald Lamont, and I'm the former leader of the Manitoba Liberal Party.
The Liberals were reduced to a single seat. Lamont suggested strategic voting was to blame.
Sometimes you get caught in a wave, and it doesn't seem to matter what you do.
Lamont served as Liberal leader for nearly 6 years. Stephenson has been PC leader for nearly 2. Both parties are now left wondering how to replace their leaders. They have plenty of time to decide. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
There were powerful moments in each of the leaders' speeches last night. We'll bring you more from them later in the program. 5 high-profile cabinet ministers were unable to hold on to their own constituencies as the NDP took over. Health Minister Audrey Gordon was defeated in Southdale, as was Families Minister Rochelle Squires in Riel. Environment Minister Kevin Klein, who was prominent at many campaign announcements, lost his seat in Kirkfield Park. There are also 3 races that are still too close to call, including Heather Stephenson's own tuxedo riding. And longtime Liberal MLA John Gerard lost his seat in River Heights, a seat he's held since 1999. Gerard says he'll have more time now to spend with his wife, children, and grandchildren. Elections Manitoba says some votes have yet to be reported. Less than 1%, it says. It's investigating technical issues that caused some delays. Meantime, the City of Winnipeg wants new powers to enforce fines against derelict property owners. The number of boarded-up buildings in Winnipeg has grown, and the city wants the province to let it add fines for bylaw violations to property taxes. It also wants the Registrar of Motor Vehicles to refuse to renew or issue licenses to people who have outstanding fines. Daniel McIntyre councillor Cindy Gilroy says the city needs this power to deal with problem properties.
If you're not held responsible, you're not going to care. So I think that this is one step further to making sure that people start taking ownership of their properties, because if not, those costs are going to impact them.
Gilroy says there are many properties in her own ward where owners have simply refused to pay fines issued by the city. The Public Works Committee will debate the issue at its meeting next week. Some minor hockey parents may be surprised to hear about a new dressing room policy now in place from Hockey Canada. It affects all minor hockey players from the youngest level right up to under 18.
It's very much about making sure that everybody feels comfortable in every dressing room. So there's some requirements called minimum attire, which is primarily that everybody should be arriving and covered in at least their base layer and leaving in at least same sort of level as well, so that everybody feels comfortable in the dressing room.
As explained, players are being encouraged to wear their base layer of clothing to the arena instead of changing in the locker room. For those who don't, they're required to put their uniform on inside a private washroom stall prior to putting on their gear. Hockey Canada says the policy is trying to promote inclusion, and the decision is based on respecting the privacy of gender identity, religious beliefs, and body image concerns. Meteorologist John Sauter joins us now. Hello, John.
Hi there.
I understand there could be some rain on the way.
Yeah, more rain on the way. We're kind of between systems right now. We've got one moving away off to the east. That was the rain that was here this morning, and then some very close to us. Have a look at the radar first, because we've got a couple of showers that just drift by the north end of the city. You look out the window here downtown, you don't really see anything, but right along the north perimeter right now, seeing a pretty intense little shower. And then these other two that are moving out toward Highway 44, just running south of Beausejour right now. That one's going toward Elma. So yeah, a couple of these scattered showers kind of leading the pack. And I say that because, Yeah, there's a lot more on the way out to the west through Saskatchewan today, now across the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border into the Brandon area where we're seeing some light rain. So through the evening, our clouds will increase and we'll start to see some showers. Right now, we're still at 15 degrees. That's pretty close to the seasonal of 14. South winds at 17. Our pressure has been starting to fall now through the day today. And you'll notice it's a drier feeling out there. The dew point now at 7. Yesterday at this time it was at 18, which is really sticky and humid. But watch Futurecast, and I'll put a stop in here at about 10:30 tonight. And you can see there will be some rain, and some of that will be some heavier showers. I don't think thunderstorms, but we could pick up 5 to 10, maybe even 15 millimeters just tonight, and another amount like that through the day tomorrow. So in the next 24 hours, we will see a fair bit of rain in case you still have to put the downspouts down or bring in some things outside that you don't want to get wet, cushions, whatever. But yeah, this rain continues through the overnight. This is the circulation around this low, now out over Kenora by 8:30 on Thursday. So some pretty intense rain, Red River Valley and east and out into northwestern Ontario for the early part of the day. And then it just sort of tapers off into showers, but the showers at times are pretty heavy. And we've got this consistent northwest flow. Let me show you later in the day, though, as we get into Thursday overnight into Friday. And that's when things really start to clear up. And we still have a slight chance for a shower on Friday. And then we'll also see some sun and some cloud mixed. Next 24 hours look like this, projected by the graph model. And you can see that Winnipeg has a bullseye of 29 by this time tomorrow. And then by 2 a.m. on Friday, we're at 40 millimeters and only a little bit more after that. So some of the models are really going for that 30 to 40 amount as a total rainfall by early Friday morning. Winds also part of the story, especially in the afternoon. Very windy in Saskatchewan. We've got some gusts across the south here and the southwest in the mid-50s tomorrow. So rain overnight, I'm saying 5 to 10 for Winnipeg. I would not be surprised if it's more than that. And then as we get into tomorrow morning, we are into rain, breezy conditions, 20 to 25. That would be a total for tonight and tomorrow evening. And it'll be windy at 11 degrees. So pretty raw day out there. Cooler on Friday, still windy, breezy 11 on Saturday. Then things really start to straighten up for the second part of the long weekend. Janet?
Thanks, John. You're welcome. A regimental funeral for an RCMP officer killed in the line of duty. The father of 6 is the latest victim in a string of police deaths across the country this year. The story when we return. A regimental funeral was held this afternoon for an RCMP officer who was killed in the line of duty. Constable Rick O'Brien was fatally shot in Coquitlam, BC last month. CBC's Renee Filipponi reports.
It was a surge of red as thousands of first responders from BC's Lower Mainland and across Canada marched in a procession to the regimental funeral of Constable Rick O'Brien. The 45-minute march was a solemn event as people paid their respect to the fallen officer. Members of the public watched on the sidewalks, dressed in red. O'Brien was killed while executing a search warrant last month. He was 51 years old and had been with the Ridge Meadows RCMP for 7 years. He's being described as a hero who earned an award for bravery early on in his career. O'Brien had a wife and 6 children and worked with at-risk youth before joining the RCMP. Those who knew him say he spent his life doing what he could to make things better for everyone.
We hurt now because we loved him. We will continue to hurt because we loved him. And we will heal because we loved him.
His death has been described as senseless and heartbreaking. O'Brien is the 7th officer to die in the line of duty this year in Canada. 2 were killed in car crashes. The remaining 5 were either shot or stabbed.
Who's looking at this and what are we doing about it? And it can't just be everybody is concerned about members' wellness when a funeral occurs and the rest of the year we're not, we're not supported as much as we should be.
Amid those safety concerns, RCMP in Coquitlam, where he was killed, are holding an outreach event for community members on Friday to answer questions about public safety following the death of O'Brien and the injuries of 2 other officers. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Langley, BC.
Court heard more testimony today from one of Peter Nygard's alleged victims. Nygard is on trial in Toronto for 5 counts of sexual assault and 1 of forcible confinement. CBC's Jamie Strachan has the latest, but first a warning. Some of the details in the story may be upsetting.
Under cross-examination, a woman who alleges Peter Nygard attacked her at the Toronto headquarters of his once global fashion empire was asked why she waited nearly a decade before reporting the violent assault to police. The woman, now 62, told the 12-person jury that she was locked in a room by Nygard before she says she was raped after the 2 attended a Rolling Stones concert in 1989. It wasn't until she saw an article about Nygard in 1998 that she reported the alleged assault to Toronto police. I was afraid. I didn't want people to know. I was ashamed. At the time, there was still this mentality that you're looking for it, she told the court. After finding out that a member of Nygard's security team had showed up in Toronto asking questions about who had talked to police, she told the court that she decided not to pursue the matter further. I freaked out. I panicked. I was afraid for my life, she said. It wasn't until 2020 that she spoke to police again, telling the court the emerging Me Too movement had created a safer atmosphere for victims of sexual assault. Around the same time, she became part of a multi-million-dollar civil suit against Nygard in the United States. Surely you understood that the class action lawsuit would be more successful if Mr. Nygard was convicted in Toronto, Nygard's lawyer Brian Greenspan suggested.
The woman on the stand today, one of 5 alleged victims we're expected to hear from during the course of this case. They will outline alleged assaults that took place between the late 80s and 2005. The youngest alleged victim, 16.
None of the allegations has been proven, and Nygard has pleaded not guilty. It has been a precipitous fall for the 82-year-old Nygard, once a fashion icon who helmed a sprawling empire. The company declared bankruptcy in 2020 as allegations against their founder began to swirl. Nygard also faces charges in Manitoba, Quebec, and the United States. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
The government in the United States remains in turmoil. The ouster of the Speaker of the House of Representatives has severely restricted what lawmakers can do. 8 hard-right Republicans joined with Democrats yesterday in an unprecedented vote to remove Kevin McCarthy from the office. All the while, the U.S. government is running out of money and heading toward another shutdown. CBC's Paul Hunter has the latest.
On Capitol Hill,
chaos. There is anger and frustration over what happened yesterday, aimed at the handful of Republicans who brought this on, described by the majority as selfish, disgusting heretics. Here's a sampling of Republicans highlighting the party's divide.
The House was going to be in chaos if this did not happen. I am looking for a speaker who will tell the truth to the American people, who will be honest and trustworthy with Congress, with both parties.
Those 8 people are anarchists, and they're Chaos Caucus members. Nobody can meet their demands, and the conference is going to have to figure out how we deal with, 8 people that are here that candidly aren't interested in governing.
Meanwhile, yet another U.S. government shutdown now looms again. While the House is in paralysis until a new speaker is determined, roughly only 40 days or so until that temporary spending deal struck between McCarthy and Democrats expires, and a new one is needed, the same kind of deal that led to McCarthy's demise because of the inherent compromises needed for it with Democrats, something those 8 hardliners vehemently oppose. They want steep cuts in spending, for example, including on U.S. aid to Ukraine. All of it leaving the party wondering where all of this is going. In the eyes of the 8 who voted McCarthy out, the steps they took worked. And whoever's in the speaker's job when all of this settles will face the same 8 in the same way. Here's Kevin McCarthy on aspects of that, and as well, Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House. But McCarthy first.
I don't regret standing up for choosing governance over grievance. It is my responsibility. It is my job. I do not regret negotiating. Our government is designed to find compromise.
We encourage our Republican colleagues who claim to be more traditional to break from the extremists in the chaos, in the dysfunction, in the extremism.
Bottom line on all the infighting among Republicans, it would seem it has barely even begun. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
A global gathering of Roman Catholic Church leaders and lay peoples is underway at the Vatican.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Pope Francis used opening day to issue a renewed rebuke of world leaders for a lack of action on climate change. The document is a follow-up to a landmark 2015 climate paper by the Pope. Other hot-button issues that will be discussed include a greater role for women in the Church and LGBTQ inclusion. Coming up, the effort to save caribou herds that have disappeared from Jasper National Park in Alberta, something that's never been tried in Canada before. More after the break. More and more adults are taking medications for ADHD. Some doctors are raising red flags about the rising rates. As Lauren Pelly explains, there are concerns the condition may be overdiagnosed.
I take Vyvanse. It's 1 pill a day.
David Martin was diagnosed with ADHD close to a decade ago, at the age of 46. The Toronto resident says medication finally helped him focus after years of struggling with time management and procrastination.
I was more noticeable about dates and when things were coming up and doing things ahead of time.
ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, commonly treated with medication. New data from BC shows the rate of adults using ADHD medication has gone up dramatically, from 1 in 1,000 adults in 2002 to nearly 17 in 1,000 by last year. The new numbers were released in a letter sent to healthcare professionals by a group of medical experts. It warns some people can experience adverse effects from certain ADHD medications amid concerns the condition may be overdiagnosed.
What to do if you think you have ADHD?
Some doctors say social media videos are increasing awareness and encouraging more people to get ADHD assessments.
I've certainly seen this trend happening in my own clinical practice.
This physician is among those worried more Canadians are seeking medications that are linked to rare health risks.
I've seen heart conditions that have been triggered by the ADHD medication, by stimulants.
But this social worker and therapist says for many adults, a diagnosis can be a fresh start, and meds are sometimes necessary.
If we need glasses to support our vision, society is less likely to show stigma toward that. Same goes for medication.
In the decades before Martin got treatment for ADHD, he dreamed of going into computer science, but that career path didn't work out.
Had I been diagnosed earlier, I maybe wouldn't have that regret.
And it's a regret he hopes other Canadians won't have to face. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Herds of caribou have been disappearing from Jasper National Park in Alberta. Conservation experts say it is a dire situation. Parks Canada has now launched a plan that's never been tried in Canada before in an effort to rebuild herd numbers. CBC's Travis McEwen explains.
It's a spectacular sight, caribou grazing below the Rocky Mountains. But Parks Canada research shows it's also rare in Jasper National Park. One herd, the Brazeau, has only 4 animals, and it's not the only herd teetering on the brink.
2 of them are entirely extirpated, so they're extinct from this area. One of those herds is on the brink. There's a handful of animals left, and then there's one herd, the Tonquin herd, that's in slightly better condition, but they're kind of on that brink of extirpation.
To stop that from happening, Parks Canada is building a conservation breeding center. This is what it's expected to look like. Once complete, staff will capture a small number of wild caribou and breed them in captivity before releasing their offspring into the wild.
The intent is to have between 30 and 40 females, breeding females in captivity for a long time. And then every year these females would produce new calves, and then they'll grow up and become yearlings. And then the intent is to release all these yearlings on an annual basis. It has never been done in Canada. It's been done in Finland, and portion of that project has been done elsewhere. But this is really unprecedented and very exciting for Parks Canada.
Helping park staff are groups from the Kelly Lake Cree Nation and Mountain Cree, who will be introducing traditional methods to caribou management.
I'm happy because it's providing an opportunity for this herd that's diminishing to flourish. So anytime we can preserve anything of significance is a bonus for us. We're quite pleased.
The plan is to get the first breeding caribou here in 2 years, but it'll take close to a decade before herd numbers grow to healthy levels.
200 animals is what we believe will give us a long-term chance of success and the herd to be self-sustaining.
Travis McEwen, CBC News, Edmonton.
Beautiful Jasper National Park.
Love it there.
See the snow up in the mountains, see the people in big jackets.
I'm starting to see, pictures online about, snow happening in the mountains and stuff. So it's coming.
Cooler today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, cooler. The thing is, will it stick around? There are signs that we may see another warm up, or at least get close to one. Have a look at this map, and this is a upper level flow. So we're on the cool side, but another ridge starts to form in the west by the time we get into Friday. Now, Friday here in the Eastern Prairies is the coolest day that we'll see, but notice we get through into the coming days, Sunday and on into Monday. Monday at supper time, and look at this line that draws between the cool and the mild is right over southern Manitoba. So we may see some very warm temperatures in, say, Lynn Lake, and some much, much cooler temperatures in Steinbach and down through the Whiteshell and Sprague regions, and some very warm stuff in southern Saskatchewan. So we'll see how that works out for Thanksgiving. Right now I'm saying about 15 degrees in Thanksgiving Day here in Winnipeg, and that is right where we're sitting right now. Downtown we're at 16, it's 15 in Steinbach. Couple of 16s to the south and to the west, and then we've got 12s and 13s through Melita and Brandon, 14 right now in the Dauphin region. Up to the north, where we're also seeing cloudy conditions and some showers lately. Tonight, we're looking at double-digit temperatures right now anyway. That temperature will fall off. This clear sky is ending for us and moving off into northwestern Ontario, where tonight there is still a chance of a shower or thunderstorm in Kenora, and just a slight chance of showers through Fort Frances, Red Lake, and Dryden. Here in the southeast, periods of rain, or just, 5 to 10 millimeters is what I'm expecting. Just showers overnight, though, for Pinawa and down through Sprague. 10 to 20 millimeters tonight around Gimli. And we'll see 5 to 10 in the farther west. Portage, upwards of 20. These are numbers are just for tonight. There's more rain on the way for tomorrow. And then across into the north, it's just a chance of showers, generally cloudy conditions. And the same with tomorrow, only about a 30% chance in most regions, although 5 to 10 millimeters is possible around the Paw. And Flin Flon, just cloudy, though, for Gillam, God's Lake, and Island Lake. 5 to 10 generally here across the south. Tomorrow we might have rainfall totals closer to 25 millimeters by about midnight on Thursday, but this would be through the daytime, so we still have more rain on the way in the next 24 hours, and showers with a risk of thunderstorms 9 to 11 degrees in northwestern Ontario.
Thanks, John.
You bet.
After the break, we'll bring you more from the speeches delivered by party leaders last night. They were moving, inspirational. Stick around. We'll be right back. Politicians are often talked about like they're not real people, but they clearly are. That humanity was on full display last night with a couple of heartbreaking losses for the Manitoba Liberal Party. The party does not have the resources or volunteer base the PCs or NDP have, and it had to deal with Kinew repeatedly calling on Liberal supporters to vote strategically. Here's more of what an exhausted Dougal Lamont said to supporters.
Thank you. So thank you very much. I'm Dougal Lamont, and I'm the former leader of the Manitoba Liberal Party. I'm going to be stepping down. I've congratulated my opponent, Robert Loisel, for winning. I want to thank my family, my wife, my children. Merci à tout le monde à Saint-Boniface. Thank you to everyone from St. Boniface who supported us, everyone who supported every single one of our candidates across Manitoba. But ultimately, the people have decided, and sometimes you get caught in a wave, and it doesn't seem to matter what you do. And you know, I will say, I always knew this was a possibility, but we had to hope beyond hope and keep working and do everything we could to run the best possible campaign we could, and we did. And I'm incredibly proud of that. And I want to share a message I got. Thank you. And I'll share a message I got from a friend today. It said, "Our family voted Liberal today. You've been amazing throughout the campaign, providing integrity, practicality, and a genuinely strong moral compass." And I can tell you what my exact reaction was. It was, "That's really nice, but that's the kind of campaign that doesn't win in Manitoba." You know, I've worked a lot of hard campaigns. This was one of the hardest, but I have to say it was also one of the very best. For the stands we took, for the fact that we stayed true to our principles at every moment, that we handled ourselves and our opponents with respect. And I do think that people did respond to our vision and our candidates and to our record. And ultimately, the Manitoba Liberals are a grassroots party. Every single one of our campaigns is held together with baling wire and twine, sheer will, and a lot of faith. And we used every single scrap of baling wire and every inch of twine in putting together this campaign. I know we changed hearts and minds in this election, but I also know that's not always enough. And you know, I've sometimes joked there's a St. Jude who's the patron saint of nursing and the patron saint of the impossible and the patron saint of hopeless causes. And what defines a hopeless cause is not that it can't get better. It's that you have to dedicate yourself to it, whether there's hope on the day or not. And the other is that when you truly believe in a cause, as we do, it means you keep working on it, because the work is what creates hope. As MLAs and as candidates and as a party, we've helped people who've given up hope because the other parties gave up on them. And that's why our voices mattered. It's why our contributions over the years mattered. And why I am truly sad today to be losing, but the people have spoken. I'll congratulate Robert Loisel. I congratulate Kinew. And that's it. Thank you. Merci.
Our outgoing premier, the first female premier of Manitoba, Heather Stephenson, wore a brave face after her party's defeat last night, delivering a gracious concession speech.
What an evening. Thank you all for being here and for your tremendous support. It's been an incredible honor for me to serve Manitoba for the past 23 years. And I'd like to thank I'd like to thank each and every one of you who have given me the immense privilege. I have been a candidate for 7 elections, and I respect the will of the voters, and today the voters have spoken. Moments ago, I called Wab Kinew to congratulate him on becoming the next Premier of Manitoba. Mr. Kinew and I don't always agree on everything, but like me, I know that he loves this province and he loves the people of Manitoba. And I wish him all the best and will make every effort in a smooth transition in the premiership. This election was a very important one, and the historic nature of Mr. Kinew's victory must be acknowledged here this evening. Wab, I hope that your win tonight inspires a future generation of Indigenous youth to get involved in our democratic process, not just here in Manitoba, but right across the country. Wab, congratulations for that. It is with a heavy heart tonight that I am announcing that I will be stepping down as the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. And I look forward to meeting with caucus and the party executive to prepare the path forward from tonight. And I look forward to working with the party to ensure a smooth process is in place to replace me as your leader. It has been the honor of my life, serving the people of Manitoba with the many roles that I have held over the years. And I thank all Manitobans from the bottom of my heart for giving me the privilege to serve as the first women premier in this beautiful province of ours. Thank you so much tonight. Have a great night, everyone.
And then just before 11 p.m., Premier-designate Wab Kinew took the stage at NDP headquarters.
This is a great victory for us. This is a great victory for all of us in Manitoba. Wow. Manitoba. My dear, sweet Manitoba, look at what we have done here tonight. You know, a lot of people in the big cities, they look down on us here in Manitoba. Flyover country, they said. Winnipeg, man, it's cold out, they said. But look what little old Manitoba did tonight. I want to speak to the young Nietzsches out there. I want to speak to young people from all backgrounds. Really, I want to speak to people of all ages, but I want to speak to young Nietzsches in particular. I was given a second chance in life. And I would like to think that I've made good on that opportunity. And you can do the same. Here's how. My life became immeasurably better when I stopped making excuses and I started looking for a reason. And I found that reason in our family. I found that reason in our community. And I found that reason in our province and country. And so to young people out there who want to change your life for the better, you can do it. To people in rural Manitoba, to people in northern Manitoba, I want to say thank you for sending people from your communities to sit with our team at the Manitoba Legislature. And to people in rural Manitoba who haven't voted for us yet, I would ask you to keep an open mind. And if our team delivers, if after a few years we have improved your health care and we've made your life a bit more affordable, I would humbly ask that in 4 years' time you send more people from your communities to sit with our team in the Manitoba legislature. I want to thank the outgoing Premier, Heather Stephenson. I want to thank you for your service to our province. I want to thank you for your service to our province and country. You were the first woman Premier of Manitoba, and I look forward to working with you on an orderly transition as we stand up Manitoba's next government, a Manitoba NDP government. And there is no challenge that we cannot meet when we unite as one Manitoba. Miigwech. Merci. Thank you very much.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift when we return.
Well, here is your 7-day forecast. This amount of rain you see here for Thursday is really tonight and right through Thursday into the evening. And there's another thing you should notice here. Saturday morning frost, I think it's probable with temperatures getting close to 0. We will warm up on into the weekend. Sunday 15, Thanksgiving Monday 15, pair of 16s next week. So some very stable and sunny weather on the way. It took longer to get results from Elections Manitoba last night than anyone expected.
Absolutely. So if you went to bed before 11, you missed the most spontaneous moment of the night. Here's your daily lift.
This is my mom. Today is her birthday. And her name is Kathy. Okay, her name is Kathy. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kathy.
Isn't that sweet?
It is. What a great birthday present for her. Her son becomes premier, and everybody's singing to her.
I bet for the mums out there, you just know how proud she is.
No kidding.
Thank you for being with us tonight. We'll see you at 11 and then again tomorrow. Bye.